In 2016, I did something that made my principal nervous. I gave a class of 26 9-year-olds a real economy. Fake currency, real decisions, real consequences. They earned money, they spent money, they saved money, they invested money, they lent money, and they made deals with each other for 8 months. What I didn't expect, what genuinely surprised me, was what happened to the children who struggled the most in the first few weeks. Because by the end of the year, those were the children who'd grown the most. And what they'd grown wasn't just financial literacy, it was something else. It was harder to measure, considerably more important. The experiment. What the classroom economy actually looked like. Now, here's what I mean by a real economy. Every student had an account, a bank book, and they earned dollars, our classroom currency, through academic work, contributions to the class, jobs that were handed out at random every week. They paid rent for their desk. There was an auction every morning for a student chair. They could buy upgrades. They could invest by lending to classmates with interest. And they could go broke. The rules were simple. The consequences were real. And unlike every financial literacy program that I've seen, there was no safety net. If you spent everything, you had nothing. If you saved, you had options. If you made a smart deal, you got ahead. And if you made a bad one, you learned why. I've run this system for 8 years. Different cohorts, different personalities, different backgrounds, and across all 8 years, certain patterns have emerged consistently that changed how I teach and how I think every parent should approach this. The children who struggled the most transformed the fastest, and the depth of their transformation was also the greatest. Finding 1. The children who engaged least in the first 4 weeks, the ones that I now call the drifters, they showed the highest growth rates over the full year. In the early weeks, drifters lost money. They missed opportunities. They forgot to collect their earnings. They watched keepers and investors build up while they fell behind. And then something shifts. The shift happens at the moment of a genuine consequence. When a drifter couldn't buy something that they wanted to because they didn't have enough money, or they hadn't saved enough money to pay their rent. That moment creates a motivation that no lecturer has ever produced. They'd felt what financial disengagement costs, and they chose differently after that. So the lesson for parents? Consequences. Real, felt, low-stakes consequences. They're the most powerful financial teacher available. The drifters who transformed weren't taught differently, they experienced differently. And that's a distinction that matters enormously for how we raise children around money. Finding 2. Early success is not the goal. Resilience is. So, for the second finding, the children who thrived earliest, the natural investors and entrepreneurs, they were also the ones at most risk of significant difficulty without specific intervention. And here's why. A child who discovers at 9 that they can lend money at interest and grow their balance quickly learns something different, something important, that systems can be worked. That's a useful skill. It's also a dangerous one when it runs ahead of judgment. In 3 separate cohorts, I watched students who dominated the classroom economy early, who were by every visible measure succeeding, hit a wall when I introduced complexity. Regulation changes, market shifts, unexpected costs. The students who hadn't learned to think about risk, only return, collapsed the fastest. So the lesson for parents? Early success in managing money is not a signal that a child understands money. It may be a signal that they found a shortcut. The teacher's job and the parent's job is to introduce complexity before the stakes are real. That's what the classroom was for, and that's what the home can be for. Finding 3. Habits beat talent. Every cohort, every year. So for the third finding, over 8 years and hundreds of students, the single strongest predictor of financial outcomes was not intelligence, not their starting wealth. Some of them actually inherited money from children the previous year, and not their financial personality type. It was habit formation. The students who built consistent habits, who split their earnings automatically, who checked their account regularly, who set savings goals and tracked it, outperformed students with higher native aptitude who operated on instinct and impulse. Every single cohort, every single year. The keeper, who built a weekly check-in and a split on arrival rule, outperformed the investor who chased returns without a system. Consistently. The lesson for parents: financial success is not a talent. It's a practice, and a practice can be taught. This is the most hopeful finding of 8 years in the classroom economy because it means that every child, regardless of starting personality type, can become financially capable. The only variable is whether they build the habits. So, what this means for you. 3 takeaways. What does 8 years of classroom data tell you as a parent? 1. Your child needs to feel real consequences to develop genuine financial judgment. Not devastating ones, just small, safe, reversible ones. Let them make mistakes while the stakes are low. The lesson does not land any other way. 2. Early success at managing money is not the goal. Resilience in the face of financial complexity is. The child who learns from a setback at 9 is far better prepared than the child who never loses anything until they're 25. 3. Habits beat talent. Build the habits. The weekly check-in, the split on arrival, the visible savings goal, and the capability follows. It always does. Everything I've described across this week's videos, the classroom economy model, the personality types, the habit building framework, this is the architecture of the Financial Adventure Club. Jerry and Phil are navigating it in every story. The quizzes test it. Parent dashboard tracks it. You can see what your kids are doing. And there's tips, there's conversation starters. There's your goal tracking page. There's settings for everything. Friends Free is the final call this week. I said I'd be straight with you when the spots are nearly gone, and they nearly are. Link is in the description. When they're gone, the price moves to the standard subscription rate. If your child had been in my classroom economy, which personality do you think they would have been in week 1? And which one do you think they'd become by the end of the year? Tell me below. That's it for today from Mr. J. Until next time, see you.